So I just wanted to drop a quick video on the Travis Scott situation. I think, first of all, it's quite tragic what has happened, and I want to take a moment of silence for those who have lost family members, siblings, friends, co-workers, classmates. And I want to also say that this could have 100% been prevented, and this was bad management, and there's a lot of people who are liable for this, and I think we're going to see a lot of reckoning coming in the days to come. But what I really wanted to specifically talk about, because all of these topics that I talk about on this account are related to Black women and what we can learn. And what specifically I want to talk about are all the allegations that came out about Travis Scott after this allegation. Now, if you don't know, the biggest reason why a lot of people feel as though Travis needs to be held responsible is because he has had a history of inciting his fans to ignore security protocols, to act rowdy, as he liked to call it, or rage, as he likes to call it, and jump from high heights, fight each other, push and shove, and just generally act in debauchery, and doing a lot of drugs, which his music is very, very heavy in. So he's had a history of this. So I'm going to give you guys a timeline that is now being revealed. In 2017, there was an incident where the timeline in 2017, Travis Scott had a show in Brooklyn where he encouraged a fan, a 23-year-old man, to who was standing on top of the balcony, because there's a 2-level concert venue. So there are people on the balcony level and there are people on the ground level. And he encouraged one of his fans to jump off of the balcony, saying, "They'll jump you, don't be scared," this and that. The account of the person, the 23-year-old, says that he was sort of pushed because a lot of the Travis fans were getting very, very rowdy and encouraging this kind of extremist behavior. He jumped, or was pushed, and nobody caught him. He landed onto the ground, and now he is permanently disabled, in a wheelchair, and paralyzed on the entire left side of his body. Then again, in 2018, there was a situation at Lollapalooza, which is a major music festival that is held in Chicago, where he performed, and he essentially told his fans to hop the security barriers, to ignore all the security protocols, and that there was space in the front, so come and get as rowdy and rage as hard as possible. He got in trouble for that because people were fighting, people were pushing each other, and of course, people were jumping the security protocols, which are a major, major danger, especially in a time period where there are so many mass shootings, unfortunately, and even bombings. I mean, look at the case of Ariana Grande. It just takes one bomb for your audience to be traumatized and for you to have permanent PTSD. Clearly, he didn't learn from it, because you can see in the 2018 or the 2019 documentary that he put out, "Look, Mama, I Can Fly," that he openly brags. And in a clip that we see where he is getting taken out from the jail, getting bailed out, you see him bragging about how many people he got to come out and how excited they were and how, rowdy they were. And then again, there was another situation where he did a show in Germany and he crowd surfed, and I guess someone tried to take one of his shoes, and he got upset and he told the fans to beat him up, and they did. And the video is quite graphic, so I can't show it, but the security guards did nothing. It was quite alarming. And this shows a precedent of behavior of not caring about safety. This sets a precedent that he just has a very little concern for other people, and the dangers and harm that could potentially befall them, otherwise known as apathy. This is then exacerbated by what has happened in the last couple of days. You see tweets that he is now going back and deleting, saying that I want all the craziest fans to get in. I'm going to sneak them in if we have to. And it's quite sad. In addition to that, some of the other allegations that came out about him is that he's stolen from lots of people, including Victoria Monet. When he first moved to LA, she says that he was sleeping on her couch, and he had a meeting with Kanye, and he stole music off of her computer and gave it to Tiana Taylor, and also gave it to Kanye and a few other people. That also shows a lack of boundaries, a lack of respect, and a lack of gratefulness, really, to the people who help you, and a lack of empathy. And it shows that this is someone who ruthlessly do whatever they want to get wherever they want. Following that, there was another allegation that he dropped his manager who built him up because he had seizures. In fact, the story says that they were at a party together and he had a seizure, and because he's epileptic, and he left him at the party, and then the manager woke up in the hospital and then called Travis to ask him what was going on. And Travis not only doubled down on what he said that he did not want him to be his manager anymore because he didn't want someone who would be, quote, shaking on the ground and shit with his meeting with T.I. So this lets you know exactly what kind of person he is. And I think it's important to note all of this because I have a feeling Kylie Jenner is still going to stand by his side. In addition, the point that I want to make about this is that this speaks to something that I think women need to deeply understand. If Kylie decides to stay, as so many women do, when a man is being extremely dysfunctional and showing signs of apathy and major red flags in so many other forms, especially since she's having her second child now with him, I don't think she realizes that what he has done to others, he will do to you. When you are no longer convenient to him, when you are no longer a benefit to him, when you are no longer have any value to him, he will do the same to you. So women, I want you to understand that this is not an example that you want to follow. This is what being a part of that debauchery gets you. This is what happens when you decide to invest in Blackistan, when you invest your money into Blackistan by buying these ridiculous bodies, these ridiculous lips, paying for these ridiculous lash extensions and having to get refills each month. First of all, it's taking up way too much money out of most of our pockets. Let's be honest. It's not necessary. The long ass nails, these cheap, thin fabrics that are designed only to cling to our fabrics because it's the only things that seem to have any value when we show ourselves out in public. All of that. And to the people who want to say, oh well, he's a drug addict. He raps about, gangs and shooting and all this other stuff. Well, guess what? This was a black man who was raised by two black parents who are both highly educated. So once again, good black men or not, you're not losing anything. You're not even losing the good ones because this is how they act and this is how they think. And realistically, Kylie is a fool, and she has the brain of a lot of pick-me's that we see because they do not understand their value, they do not understand their worth, and that's how they end up pregnant twice to a man who is a murderer and a cheater. This is what happens when you tie your self-worth to black men. This is what happens when you participate in Blackistan. You get the top tier men of the black community, but what is that really worth? My mother always used to say, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And that is what we are seeing here. A manifestation of a woman who comes from a broken home, who is a baby mom's, who has very little self-esteem, who's been cheated on numerous times, who has these ridiculous botched bodies. This is not a lifestyle that you want to live. This is not a life worth living. And if there's anything that you need to understand and gain from this story, is that money does not make you have any value. You can be a billionaire and still struggle with self-worth. You can be a billionaire still attached to the wrong partners because you haven't done the self-work. You haven't done the self-work. And I see this problem manifesting in so many Black women today, where we had parenthoods where, they were toxic. Just because your parent didn't beat you or starve you or abuse you doesn't mean that you didn't face any kind of neglect. Did your parents pour into you? Did they pay attention when you shared the intimate details of your life or the things that interest you? Do they know who your best friends are? Do they know the things that make you happy? Could they get you a spontaneous gift and know that what they got you is something that you would actually like? Those are details that have a deep intrinsic effect on who you are as an adult. Because if someone doesn't pour into you then, you don't have the foundation later, and you're always going to be looking for someone to fill that void. And she is a part of a family just like that. Race, wealth does not change those things. And we're going to see a lot more of these kinds of women, non-Black women, facing the same dysfunctions and manifestations of those dysfunctions that we previously only saw in Black women. High baby mother rates, going on these tangents and calling out their partners when they cheat on them and do them wrong. We're going to see this. I guarantee you in a few years' time, quote me on this, that Kylie Jenner is going to have a falling out with Travis, and it's going to end poorly, because you can't end on a good note with these kinds of men. You can't. They don't have any accountability. They don't have any flexibility. They don't have any emotional vulnerability. They don't have any empathy. You think that they're just hard to everybody else and they're going to be soft with you? That's not how any of this works. You are who you are 100% of the time, whether you realize it or not. And that's why you see this whole family, and none of them are in a stable relationship, because they haven't seen one modeled in front of them. It's a shame. It's a bitter shame. But at the end of the day, it's not anyone's problem but their own. I can't feel sorry for anybody who willingly puts themselves in this situation and refuses to grow and refuses to learn. And I hope that you all who are listening to this understand this and make the necessary change to benefit yourselves, and make sure you don't make the same pitfalls and mistakes. That's all I have to say.